Hello and welcome to the Sunshine State Book Festival. This year is a virtual event, so you get to meet all of us Florida authors here in video recordings instead of in person due to the state of affairs out there in the world right now. I'm author A.C. Ward. I have published 5 different books, and I actually have 4 books publishing in 2021 in a new series. The first book that I published is a psychological thriller titled Death Daydreams. This book is actually more geared towards adults and is a psychological thriller about a woman who's kidnapped by serial killers, and it turns out she has a little bit of darkness inside as well. The next books I published are the Abyss trilogy. So there are 3 books in this series: Avoiding the Abyss, Approaching the Abyss, and Accepting the Abyss. This series is a young adult series that is set on another planet in the future. So it has some sci-fi elements, but it is also heavily into the fantasy realm because it actually has a lot of angels and demons in it. And the teenagers have special abilities, but the abilities are due to them being possessed by these demons and obtaining their abilities through the possession. So it kind of has an interesting twist on it. The main character, Aubrey, her main struggle is really with her mother. Her mother is the paragon of the rebels, so the best rebel there ever is, and Aubrey is not. And she probably never will be. And it's kind of an exploration of her relationship with her mother and earning her trust or being okay with not earning her respect. So it has a lot of family involvement as well. The newest book that I just released is called The Potential of Forgetting. You'll see that this one is a not-for-resale copy, and that's because I just released it this week when I'm recording this video in October, actually. And this one is a standalone. This is also a young adult. It is in the sci-fi realm. It's about teenagers that have no memories and wake up with special abilities, and them trying to figure out whether they can trust the scientists in the facility they're being held, or even each other. It has an interesting development on how they obtain these abilities, and the main character, Callie, has kind of an alternate version of herself in her head, a voice in her head kind of giving her clues and suggestions of the past. So I'll actually be reading an excerpt from this book today to give you a sample of my writing. And this is as they're discussing what's going on in the facility when they get back together. "So spill," Pell demanded. "What happened to you two?" "Don't look at me," Atlas replied. "I was tranked almost the whole time. Woke up and the doc seemed to be wrapping up." "It sounded like he had been talking to you, though, Callie." I thought back to how Dr. Matteo had been holding my hand when I woke, and my insides twisted. "Oh, stop it," my inner voice said. I couldn't help that I found the way he looked at me, as if he knew intimate details about my life, creepy. I pressed a hand against my abdomen, hoping to hold it together. "You are hungry, aren't you?" asked, her eyes wide. "No, I'm nauseous. Likely a side effect from the drugs they gave me." I was also a little dizzy, but I didn't tell them that as I sat on the nearest bed. Dr. Matteo didn't say much. He admitted that they had experimented on us, though he mentioned a signed agreement, like we had volunteered. Atlas frowned. Payne looked thoughtful, and confusion clouded Om's face. Pell was the only one who nodded. "Well, who wouldn't want superpowers? I can see me signing up for that." Her glee over her powers still made me nervous. I tried to push it aside. "They want to conduct physical exams, but I declined." "Why?" Pell frowned. "He said he wants to test whether our powers have caused any lasting damage." "No, not why would they want to. Why did you decline?" Pell seemed exasperated again. "It makes sense to me." "I don't want them touching me." "Come on, they're doctors. With all the complaining you do, I would have thought you'd want them to figure out what causes the pain." Atlas's brow furrowed. He seems focused on you. I was relieved he was the one that said it. Maybe it wasn't just paranoia. My inner voice huffed, but I ignored her. I think it's my powers. He mentioned that they had trouble monitoring us. Payne grinned. You froze them too, huh? And the surveillance cameras. No wonder they drugged you, Pell said, earning a glare from Atlas. You look tired, said. She was worried about me, I realized. I tried to smile, but couldn't dredge up the energy. I am tired, I admitted. It makes no sense. I haven't been awake very long today. Passing out and being drugged are not the same as sleeping, Atlas said. Did Dr. Matteo say anything else? Pell asked. Not really. I told him we didn't want to be separated. Atlas woke up, and then the doctor brought us here. What about you guys? Atlas asked. Nothing happened worth being tranquilized for. Payne stared at Atlas. Atlas ran a hand through his hair self-consciously. They locked us in a room for a while, then let us here. Pell shrugged. Hopefully we'll figure out more tomorrow, I said. So you can rest now? asked. Yeah, let's all get some shut-eye, Payne agreed, ruffling her hair before he walked away. Looks like Callie's already chosen her bed, Pell muttered, as she also moved further into the room. I thought that sounded like a plan and stretched out on the one I was sitting on. Climbed the steps at the end of the bunk, and I heard the creaks as she settled above me. Atlas moved to the bed across from us, against the opposite wall. Payne stopped a couple down and sprawled on it. Pell was the farthest from me, all the way on the other end of the room. Good night, Callie, murmured from above. Good night, I replied, closing my eyes and hoping to fall asleep quickly. The breathing of the others had gone slow and even long before I gave up on the idea of sleep. Exhaustion pulled at me, but I couldn't seem to let go. I really wanted to dream about the boy again, too. You need to rest, the voice in my head chided. I heard Pell snoring from across the room, though it wasn't obnoxious or loud, just steady. I was envious. I rolled to my side to try a new position. The vacant bed next to mine squeaked as someone sat on it. I opened my eyes again, expecting to see Atlas. It was Payne instead. I could barely make out his features since someone had dimmed the lights. Can't sleep, he murmured. No, though I really am tired. I returned just as quietly. Sitting up, I listened to the others. Their breathing remained steady. I was relieved we hadn't disturbed them. Is there something else bothering you? Something you haven't told us? His question surprised me, especially coming from Payne. There was a lot bothering me. The voice in my head, the boy I dreamed about, the marks on my arms, but I wasn't willing to talk about most of it yet. I took a breath and asked, What do you think of Atlas? He's not my type. I'm serious, I huffed, though I smiled. I should have expected that from him. Payne was silent for a moment. Did something happen between the two of you? I remembered the almost hug and was glad for the dark. No, Tio just implied he was dangerous. Now you've done it, my inner voice warned, and I realized what I'd said. Tio? Payne asked, picking up on the nickname. Dr. Matteo, I meant. Payne stilled. Do you remember him? No, it's not like that. I shifted when his stillness continued. Sometimes things just come to me. It's not a memory. I wasn't ready to own up to hearing voices. What did Tio say about Atlas? Nothing specific. That Atlas was an exception. They took precautions. His strength can be dangerous. He threw me around, if you remember. He didn't stab you through the chest with a metal bar. I was still angry at Pell about that. At least Atlas had shown some remorse. True, I guess we're all a little dangerous. Not you, I said, realizing it was true. I don't see how your healing could hurt anyone. You consider me safe, huh? His voice was still quiet, but it had changed. There was an undertone. Well, your power isn't dangerous, I said carefully. I wished I could see his face. A silence fell between us, but the tension in it seeped away. Payne reached out and brushed my hair back from my temple. His fingers felt chilly. He withdrew them before I could react. Can you sleep now? Drowsiness dragged at me. The nagging headache I'd been carrying around all day loosened its hold. I think so. Without another word, he stood and returned to the bed he had chosen earlier. I closed my eyes, and the first tugs of sleep finally enveloped me. And that's a section from The Potential of Forgetting. A little bit about me as an author. I think authors tend to be asked two questions fairly frequently, and the first one is, where do you get your ideas? For me, most of my ideas actually come from my dreams. I dream very vividly while I'm sleeping and about all sorts of different characters. It's like they come and say hello, and I usually wake up and I have a very clear image of at least one scene in my stories. And then as I think about the characters, they kind of lead me to other parts of the story and other scenes, and it starts building together over time. The other question that's asked is, do you have a theme or a meaning behind your writing? Is there something you're trying to get across to your readers, kind of a meaning of life? And I actually don't think about this while I'm writing, but because I've been asked it a few times, I have given it some thought, and I would say my theme is that family isn't always related by blood. Family is something that you choose. It's your friends or the people that become close to you over time that you find in this world. And most of my books are about my characters finding their own family, finding the people that they will love and cherish and fight for and sacrifice for and do anything to kind of let them know that they're important to them. And I would say that that tends to be the theme running through all of my stories. Well, I hope you enjoy all of the videos from the authors and that you find your next favorite read.